IEC meeting with US Ambassador Reuben Brigety continues to cause a stir. Civic group Democracy in Action has given the Commission an ultimatum to release the minutes of the meeting or face legal action. The organisation says it's concerned about the possible tainting of the Commission's integrity as a result of the meeting. However, the IEC says it is standard procedure to meet with diplomats. For more on Democracy in Action's concerns, I'm now joined by Brooks Spector, an international relations expert. Brooks, appreciate your time this evening. Just what do you make of this engagement or this conversation that took place between the IEC and the Ambassador Brigety?
Well, I'm actually quite startled by the complainant. This is pretty standard stuff. If you read what the IEC put out as a release, they've already done similar briefings for the EU, the European Union. I don't know whether it was all the ambassadors from there. They have plans to do it with the African Union, and it's pretty basic stuff. You call people in, you tell them that we are organized, we're well prepared, we have all the contingencies covered, including electrical failure. We have all kinds of checks and balances to make sure the ballot boxes don't suddenly disappear, et cetera, et cetera. And from the other side, from the side of the foreign mission, it's an integral part of their job to understand the nature, the workings, the competence, for that matter, of an election organizing agency, because they have to report back to their capital and to others, obviously, that no, this stuff seems pretty well in hand, and these people, they've got a good track record. There's been no credible evidence of ballot stuffing or voter fraud for the last 30 years now, and that it's good for the country to be able to demonstrate to foreign ambassadors and thus foreign governments that things are in hand. And the only real question is, how do the parties and candidates perform and behave, and what is the final result? That's, after all, what everybody wants to know.
Now, the IEC was just as calm as you were in issuing a response, that there is really nothing to this issue. So does that suggest that Democracy in Action do not understand the rules or the guidelines around such engagement?
Well, I think they aren't familiar with the idea that various parts of a government, South Africa's government or any others, routinely, when it can and it's appropriate, briefs foreign missions on circumstances within their purview. There's another part to it too, and it's not the formal part of the embassy's job, but if they're convinced, say, that the IEC has this well under control, they can reassure non-governmental people, whether they be NGOs or whether they be foreign businesses or whether they be potential investors, that regardless of what the results may actually end up saying, the process has been handled professionally and effectively, which is a major part of the democratic experience. I was, when I first got your inquiry from your station about this, I was the word flabbergasted is used too often maybe for things, but I was a little surprised. Why would anybody complain about having foreign ambassadors and some of their staff come in, hear from the IEC how things are going and how things are organized? Because foreign embassies, just like the local government, have a stake in seeing that this goes forward well, carefully, competently, and effectively. I'm mystified what it is they're looking for, unless they're trying to somehow argue in some strange way that whatever is going to happen is being manipulated by, you can hear the mysterious music, at this point, foreign sources and foreign elements and foreign agencies and so forth. But, the track record is pretty clear. I've been around here for quite a while, and I've never seen any evidence of a vote count in this country that was flawed or ineffective or administered in a way which would be a national embarrassment. I just don't see it.
Now, Brooks, Democracy in Action chairperson Thabo Mtweni said he is worried that the meeting may have compromised the integrity of the elections. If there was indeed the possibility of any form of compromise, would the meeting have been that apparent, do you think?
Well, I'm not quite sure in what way it might compromise an event which has yet to happen 3 weeks into the future. You know, you're in the news business, and you know that the IEC has been pretty thorough in its briefings to people in the media about this is how it's going to happen, and this is where it's going to be, and you apply for your permits to come watch, and it's an open process. And further, I can't swear that this is absolutely true, but the major parties will have, all of them will have observers, if not in the actual ballot counting rooms, certainly scattered around the country in all the balloting places to make sure nothing unusual happens. But I mean, footnote, of course, there will be problems somewhere along the way in the voting station of X. Electricity will die, or one of those electronic gizmos will fail to work, and so the results will be late in coming. They'll be delayed by a couple of hours or something like that, or a set of ballots being sent from a South African embassy abroad arrives late, and they don't get tabulated right at first, but they get fed into the final tabulation. Dare I say it, maybe that organization is engaging in a little bit of grandstanding.
Mm. Well, the one thing they've done is they've threatened to threatened legal action against the IEC if they do not release the minutes of that meeting. Is there any obligation to the IEC or Ambassador Brigety, for that matter, to release minutes of that meeting?
Well, I suspect that the IEC operated from its standard briefing document at this point. They must have one. And, you know, first point is that this is how we conduct the election. There'll be this many voting stations, and there'll be observers in this place and that place, and the ballots will be forward here. It's going to be pretty straightforward stuff. There are always possibilities for voter fraud in the world. I mean, you watch the baseless charges that Donald Trump has been shouting about for 3.5 years now about the American previous election. They've been to court. What was it? They went 81 times, and in only one case was there a slight technical issue that the court found in favor of the Republicans, and the other 80 times they threw it out of court. So I have absolutely no doubt that somewhere along the way there'll be a minor technical issue in 1 or 2 voting stations, or someone will have a complaint that an observer was too close to those little booths where people mark their ballots and then put it in the box. But that's part of the way democracy works. You're supposed to check the other guy to make sure that they're not forcing themselves upon the voter, and it's up to voters to say, "Shoo, go away." So it's been commented on in all manner of social media, and I get calls, and frankly, I'm at a loss to understand what exactly this NGO or interest group is actually trying to argue. And I really don't know what their question is.
Well, this election comes on the eve of 30 years of South Africa's democracy, and one of the strongest democracies on the African continent. Are you convinced? Are there any telltale signs that this may not be an election that is absolutely proper to the T?
Well, it's certainly more entertaining than they have been in the past, because the outcome is not certain. And because the outcome is not certain, the various parties and candidates are slugging it out in the way democracy is supposed to work. Candidate A says, this is what we're going to do, and candidate B says, that's a bunch of malarkey. And then they say, this is what we're going to do, and then candidate C says, you people are smoking your socks, or politer words to that effect. And that's to the good. The one thing that I've done a lot of talking with people about elections, even today, and the single biggest problem or challenge, I think, is not voter fraud in the sense that we have been discussing, but the apathy on the part of a significant share of the eligible electorate, people of a certain, of the right age and citizens of the country and so forth, and that you may have an election in which a majority of the potential voters actually don't vote, and that would be a criminal shame. Yes, it would.
International relations expert Brooks Spector, appreciate your time. Thank you for speaking to us on the show, confirming that the threat to take legal action over that meeting between the IEC and the American ambassador to South Africa may not hold much water.